Super stoked. I'm super pumped about my special guest, y'all. Y'all are in for a treat. If you can't tell, I have on my Army fatigue colors today because we are celebrating our veterans. And so I, again, have a very special guest today who is someone who I hold extremely near and dear to my heart. And without further ado, I'm going to ask my special guest if he would be kind enough to please join me on stage and introduce himself to the people.
What's good? Hi, Mick. I'm Kenneth Sellers Sr, retired U.S. Air Force, and the father of this amazing young lady here.
Right? That's me. That's my daddy, y'all. That is my daddy. Yes. Let me tell you right now, I am a bona fide, certified, very proud daddy's girl. I love my
yes,
father.
You are.
I love my father. You are very, very special to me. But I don't take this for granted and I don't take this lightly. And so I want to tell you, thank you very much for making time for little old me and blessing the podcast and for your continued support. I love you very much and I appreciate you.
I'm glad to be a part.
Yes. Okay, Daddy. So today we are talking about veterans and you, sir, are in fact a veteran.
Yes.
Take a little bit of time and tell us about your branch of service, years served, and just tell us a little bit about that journey and what that entailed.
Okay. Of course, 22 years, 2 months, and 21 days. I used to say something a little bit different, but I served over 22 years of a U.S. Air Force in the service there. I entered as a delayed enlistee. During my high school years, in fact, 6 months prior to graduating high school, I had enlisted and went into what they called at that time electro-environmental systems, which was on an aircraft, air conditioning, pressurization, oxygen, and all those systems. And we used bleed air to actually change it from high temperature bleed air to what made the pilots comfortable and livable environments while they was flying fighter aircraft. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So you said you were at what age, 17?
Actually, I was emancipated at 17, yes. And but I had signed the papers. But then I actually entered that summer, July 10th. I had actually went down to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, where we did our 6 weeks of basic training. And that in itself was an experience, first time away from home, first time being on a plane, just a lot of first time events in a young man's life. Yes.
Yes. What was your why, Dad? Why?
My why was that's a good question. And not to have any regrets, but I think my why was I was looking forward to, at that time, my high school sweetheart, your mother. And I wanted to make certain that I was making plans that we both could, adapt to and grow into. Yeah. As a family.
Let me tell you, thank you. I appreciate that. Were you caring enough to want to set me up for success and make sure that you could take care of me as a provider? I appreciate that. Well, let's talk. Let's start here. So you went from Texas for basic training, right? And then where do you go or grow from there?
Well, from basic training, you have to select your AFSC or the career that you're chosen to be placed in. And from Texas, I went to Chinook Air Base up in Illinois, Rantoul, Illinois, and that was my technical school. Technical school was about 6 months, I believe, and so I learned all the basics of refrigerants, electrical systems, airflow, pneumatics, or fluid, the way fluids would move through a system, and all the physics behind it. So that was about a 6 month experience. And following that, they give you like 2 or 3 choices of your base assignment. And I had I made my selection was really just trying to stay in the South Carolina area because we both was from that region,
Yeah.
but they sent me to Okinawa, Japan,
Yeah.
to a place that I had never even thought about. But Okinawa, Japan, turns out to be a very, very dream spot. To be truthful, it's a little atoll in the middle of the Pacific, about 800 miles south of Japan. And the weather there is almost just a like Florida like or California, Southern California like type weather,
Yeah.
And it was a very rewarding and rewarding experience to be there, to live there for 3 years, and to really learn that culture to a great extent.
I love it. It's so cool because often asked the question like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah,
And my kids tell me that I've been in Indiana long enough to be from here. But
yeah,
as you've already kind of alluded to, we are well traveled and well cultured. So for those who don't know, I was actually born in
that's
Okinawa,
right.
Japan. And I'm proud to say
That's
I was
right.
born in Okinawa, Japan. Yes, in real
Dual
life.
citizen.
Yes, and I'm a U.S. citizen, just for the record. Yet my name is Japanese, and
Yes.
I often have to ask my dad to remind me what my name
Mhm.
means. So, Dad, for the record, will you remind me what my name
The
means?
Kamika in Japanese is eternal beauty or beautiful
Oh,
young flower. That's the way it's
oh,
interpreted. Yes.
I hope
Mhm.
I've lived up to
Oh,
that.
you are indeed. Yes.
Oh, daddy, thank you. Okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I love my daddy, y'all. Okay, so being in Japan, we lived there to your point for 3 years.
Mhm.
And I was born in Okinawa, Japan, and then stayed there for some time and got acclimated to the culture. And I had my own experiences then. But then I like to also touch on like while I'm a U.S. citizen, it was when I was 3 that I actually got to live in the United
Right.
States.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
So my first home in the United States was at 3 years old, and we lived in Destin, right?
It was Fort Walton Beach,
Fort
Florida.
Walton Beach, Florida.
Right.
And that was an experience in itself because I had not ever been back until last year. And it was like a full circle moment for me as I'm
Right.
standing on the beach and I'm driving past and seeing all the airplanes. And I remember when we lived in California, and that's where I like to say that I'm from,
Uh-huh.
right? It's California. A lot of great memories there. Beach girl,
Oh,
valley girl,
yes.
in California. But
Record
talk a little
setting.
bit about what it meant to you to be able to move around so much.
Mhm.
Like how that impacted you at such a young, impressionable age, but then also your family.
Okay. Well, let me go back to Japan. My experiences there and the travel that I did, even from there, the temporary uh, assignments that I was able to accomplish or to participate in. Like I traveled from Okinawa, traveled to the Philippines island, traveled to Australia, a little place called Ipswich with the Royal Air Force Air Base. We went to Gwangju, South Korea. We went to bases in Japan, as an example. So that when you're in that theater, as well as participating in, and there's some things in Hawaii
Yeah.
from Okinawa, that entire Pacific arena. But then after that 3 year period, we came back to the States, and my assignment was at Eglin Air Force Base, Fort Walton Beach in Florida. And there I was assigned to the Systems Command, I believe it was called. There was a lot of testing. We did a lot of tests on different airframes, everything from we had specially modified aircraft that they did testing on. They test weaponry, weaponry type capacities, airspeeds, and all those variables that may affect the aircraft performance during different configurations. So we was able to do that on a lot of airframes, from the A-10s, F-4s, Recce F-4s, if you know what that is, T-38s, T-39s, F-15s, F-16s. So we had a list of airframes that we was able to perform tests on. But then following that, the experience at Eglin, going to move on over to, where did we go from there? We went to California.
Well, so you,
Actually, I did a remote. I did a remote. That's right.
yeah, because I remember being in South Carolina,
For about a
right, with
year.
Grandma Rose for a little
Mhm.
while, and you
Right.
were away. So where'd you go? Where'd you go, Daddy?
I did not just jump ship. It was my turn for a remote. Uh, most military members that stay in long enough, you will do a remote. You will have family separations at one time or another. And then in 1980, 19, is it 84,
Don't be telling
86?
my age, Daddy.
19, around 18, I think 1986, I was deployed to Korea, Kunsan, Korea.
Yeah.
Kunsan, the wolf pack. Oh, what a blessing in disguise that was. I mean, it was just all work. It was just work. You know, from the time you arrived, and that was the colonel's. That I forget his name, but that was the colonel's motto. I said, we're going to work hard, but when you're off, we're going to let you play hard. So that's what we was able to do. You know, when we was on, we was on. You know, it's all about that military mindset. It's all about the mission, fixing the aircraft, letting the pilots get their sortie training type of things in. And so we stayed busy doing that. And so time kind of went by kind of quickly for me. However, when it came to my mid-tour, most people get a mid-tour between the fourth and the eighth month of their remote. My remote and my mid-tour was hailed because of, I won't say mission essential. They had some things that was going on, and I was unable to travel during that particular time frame because of the mission commitments. And so I was not able to go home, you know, during that halfway break and then to come back and then to finish it up. So I had to just do essentially a 15-month stretch from my family separation. So that was kind of disappointing to me. It's kind of hard on me for a little bit because I wanted to get back to see my kids, see my family, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, we're going to give a shout out to our family in Spartanburg, South Carolina,
Yes.
Greenville, all down in this. You know, I like to say I'm a city girl with Southern swag, of course,
Yeah.
right? Or a Southern girl with city swag, however you want to say it. But also, Charlotte, stand up. Charlotte, North Carolina, absolutely stand up. But I want to take this moment right now, Dad, just for a moment and hearing you share your journey and just a very small part, because there's so much that we still have to at least touch on. But for the selflessness that, you know, not just for your country, right? Like the sacrifice for your country, that you do this again at such an impressionable age to serve, but for your family.
Right.
That's huge. So that we can be set up for success and have opportunities that maybe you were not afforded to have coming up. But it is very commendable.
It is. Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I do, because my life could be so much different. I wouldn't have the stories to tell and share. I wouldn't have the culture, you know. And I think, to your point, you know, when you travel abroad that way and you have the opportunity to engage in diverse cultures, right? You learn a lot, and it shapes who you are. And one thing about us is we don't meet strangers. You know, we're someone who could adapt easily, and I think that comes from those experiences.
Yes.
You know, being able to engage with different populations and cultures. What was that impact on you, and what do you have, like a fond memory?
Well, for me, the when you taking that oath, you know, that oath of service, and to me, it just resonated, each and every word to a great extent. You know, you just take to heart. But it's also now that during that time that was the commitment. You know, you making a commitment to not just, you know, bettering yourself and being open to the opportunities that the military, the various branches offered, but to also, you know, be serving your larger community, you know, your country. And it kind of just to kind of bump things up a little bit, it's kind of disappointing now, you know, as I reflect back over in the beginning, how much it meant to everyone to be under the same oath, to be looked at as Americans, not as this Democrat or Republican or the case might be, you know, but you as an American, especially when you are, you know, traveling abroad, because when you are engulfed in those various cultures. If you're downtown, you don't care if somebody is a Democrat or a Republican. You see another American, you go over there and you meet and you greet that person, you know,
Absolutely.
hey, because you never know when you come across someone from your very own home. Absolutely. Now, I will share with you too that and I didn't mention it when I was in Japan, but there's a number of Marines and soldiers that had came through the various bases on Okinawa that I went to school with. We was all high school. And I was like, you be in the commissary or the BX or the PX that they would call it.
Yes.
And you see somebody calling out your name, like, well, what you doing over here?
Yes.
And so I recall one time I went to Hawaii, matter of fact, and I had learned that one of my high school friends was stationed there. I went and knocked on the door. He wasn't at home, he was at work. So I left a note saying, hey man, I'm here.
That's awesome.
We were able to sit down and have a little meal together. So yes. So
yeah.
But once again, it's kind of disheartening now how things are playing out now with all the travel mentalities and things of that nature. Whereas I like to think that the military would be able to refrain from being used and exploited and diminished in that way. Folks that take that oath, we need to really just stand up to each and every letter of the word and intent of the word in supporting that Constitution in our country. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the Air Force, why the Air Force as opposed to another branch of service?
The Air Force, I think I was just fascinated by the weapon systems, the airplanes, and I thought at one time, although I wanted to be on a college track, the Air Force did offer opportunities for you to continue to go to school, and then they had programs that you can go from enlisted to commissioned officers or whatnot. But it didn't work out for me at that time, so I just went ahead and just settled myself in and said, okay, I'm gonna make the best of this situation and just move forward,
Yeah. Now let's talk about ranks, right? Because everyone starts out at what? Like, what is it when you first enter?
E1.
E1. Everybody gets to be an E1 out the gate.
E1, you ain't getting by. Now there's some qualifications that you can kind of be bumped up to E2. And I think now they even have it so you can be bumped up a little quicker. Now they have step processes or step promotions and that kind of thing. But when you go on the first initially start, when you go into basic training, you don't have no rank insignia, So no rank insignia, airman basic as an example, you're E1. Then once you get that first stripe, you're E2. Get another stripe, you're E3. So and it just continue to progress in that way.
What was the highest level of ranking that you were able to achieve while in the service?
E7. I was able to get up to Master Sergeant, and I was really, and I had been preparing myself for E8, but the way the system was set up, I was not able to compete or test for the E8. So before my retirement date. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I
was ready.
You was ready. Y'all let my daddy
Case in point. There was a number of younger troops that served under me, and after I had retired, after my retirement, and I went back to the air base to those very same shops, and guess what? They were the E8s and the E9s. Yes. So now praise the Lord.
That's all you can say, right? Praise the Lord. That's all you can say. So let's talk a little bit about tours, and then I want to tap into the mental health piece of it a little bit.
Okay.
Tours served.
Okay.
It's a big deal for some to serve a tour. Like that's a big deal, right? However, you are someone that has served multiple tours. What tours did you serve in, Father?
You mean campaigns, or because I did 6 years of foreign. I got documents right here. I did 6 years of foreign service, six years and 6 months, I believe. But the tours I did, I think it was they have long tours and then short tours. My short tours was at one remote. Then I did a short tour in Misawa Air Base, Japan, as an instructor. But then the long tours were tours like Japan. So did the long tour and then a couple of short tours.
Yeah. So when I'm referring to tours, I'm talking about wars.
Wars, campaigns.
Yeah, wars going on.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, during my time there was Desert Storm. And prior to Desert Storm, let me share this with you. We did an exercise. It was called Giant Sword. And what at that time we was living in California, and I was stationed at Castle Air Force Base. And the folks in the Pentagon wanted to know, could the B-52 make this transatlantic voyage if it was called upon? So they had us to go from Castle Air Force Base, and they sent us to Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia, you might also know as a footprint in the sand, because that's all it is. It's about that big, that long. You can only have like not even 5 or no more than 10 planes on the ground at any time, because there's just no room to move that planes around like that. So, so they wanted to make certain that the bombers were still capable of making that transatlantic journey, and we was able to prove to them that was the case. And so following that exercise, then that's when things started popping with the Desert Storm. And then as Desert Storm continued to develop and to grow, and towards the ending there, things kind of spread into what they called the Southern Watch. So those were the two primary theaters or two primary conflicts that I was in: Desert Storm and then Operation Southern Watch. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, that's a lot. So, anytime I do, my podcasts or productions, there's always a connection to mental health. And I have had the privilege of working with military veterans in therapy as their therapist. Personally, from your experience, how did that affect you in going through something like that? And is that something that you had to be intentional to seek support in and helping you to overcome some of that you were dealing with?
For me, in the Air Force, recognizing and understanding that I was sending my planes, air crew, into a situation versus me, myself, being in that situation at that time. But I also had to reconcile that the bombs that were being dropped was really being indiscriminately to a great extent. That way you're going to have some what they call collateral damages and that kind of thing. You may not be intended to kill women and children, but they can be caught up in that. So for me, mentally, I really had to just try to say, I got blood on my hands. So I just, I plead the blood, ask for forgiveness, in that regards, knowing that I'm thinking that I'm on the right side of history, doing the right thing for my country, for my family, for my community. But sometimes you can be doing the right thing and still yet be on the wrong side. So, but that was my particular thoughts. And oftentimes, then there too, when I was in theater, and we having to service the aircraft and doing the same thing, basically, because that's all we would do, basically, is practice what we're going to be doing in time of war, or practice what we're mobilizing and practicing those things that's necessary for us to be successful in a time of war. And now, the cat is out the bag now. Anytime that we are in a conflict, I can tell you right now that the U.S. position is to compel the enemy to do our will, to make them do what we want them to do, and sometimes, that requires, you get ugly. You get ugly to a great extent, and, then there too, let's remember that to the victor go the spoils, and I'm saying that in reference to even our situation being people of color, and then when you try to trace your ancestry back, again, to the victor go the spoils. So a lot of our own history has been hidden from us.
Absolutely. We are the indigenous people.
Yeah, and that's something. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
When
That's
I
another
was
show for another
in,
day.
when I was in Australia, I was like, what? Yes, yes, ma'am, we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So, did you have any support coming out of that situation, and what does that look like for you in terms of mental health support experiencing something that traumatic?
Well, let me share with you. I recall on one evening at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
We was going about our business as usual. We was, there. We was to service aircraft that was transiting with personnel, equipment, and supplies, and that kind of thing. And I recall this one particular evening, and this is a short story. One particular evening. I went, I had sent everyone, we was kind of in the tent waiting for things to start popping off, and then planes started landing. So we had to get out the tent and go out there and do our thing. But following that, when I get back into the tent, and it saddened me, and it made me really, really, really,
Oh man.
made me really, really angry.
Oh man.
Someone had took a rope, made it loose, and left it above my desk. Yeah. And so my immediate response was to, I thought about it, I reflected upon it, I took it down, but then I said, well, it's time to have that particular conversation. So without blaming any of them, I just kind of let them know my position on it. But then I also elevated it, talked with my the people that was there that was serving at a high level than myself, and just made my voice known about that. That's not what I'm here for, And anyone that was doing that, that was taking part in that and protecting that kind of behavior, it's just that's not me. That's not what I'm out here, serving, fighting this war for, But
Yeah.
but years later, I had came across one of those young people that was served under me, and he had approached me, and he told me, he said, guess what happened to such and such? And I was like, what happened? And he shared with me that how she had failed, in her marriage and her situations. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. The young lady she was a flying crew chief, and she was and I just said she was caught by her husband. Her husband was a flying crew chief. And she got to one location, and the crew that was with her, she's in bed with that guy. I'm like, what in the world? So it happens.
Be a lot going on. You get a little messy.
Yeah, a lot messy. Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't celebrating that particular event, but I was just like, I kind of had a feeling that it was coming from her, that individual, and but I just, I had a peace of mind not to really go beyond that. Once I had made myself known, how I felt about it, I alerted my superiors to it, and then it was shortly after that I was back on the plane, and I was coming back to the States.
Yeah. Well, thank you for making that decision, because even hearing you tell that story, I got all kinds of emotions. I'm ready. Where they at, Daddy? Where they at? We're going to get them in real life right now. Knocking on the door. But as we transition or prepare to transition post retirement, then you transition to being an educator.
Yes.
And what was that about? What was the why? How did you find yourself in that space?
The why. Yeah. The why. Actually, I was after retirement, I had completed a Bachelor of Science degree in computer programming, because that was the hot thing at that time. Computer programmers. The system was just asking we need some computer programmers. So every school was pumping out these programmers. When I completed my degree and following retirement, they didn't necessarily, they wanted computer programmers, but they didn't want computer programmers 38, 39 years old. They wanted computer programmers coming out of college, 24, 25 years old, someone that they could train to be with the company a number of years. And so I found myself in a mailroom at the Passport Center here in Charleston, making passports. And then I became a book print supervisor in the passport business there. But then I kind of felt slighted some kind of way because as veterans, there's a veteran preference that is a federal entity, and I should have been given, or veterans should be given their preferences based on the point system that they have established. And the management at that time, I don't know if he's still there or not, but the management at that time, he wanted outstanding scholars. He wanted young people coming right out of college that was outstanding, hit that 3.5, 3.8, 3.9 GPA, you know, that kind of thing. And long story short, we had a representative that they had visited the center, and they asked the question, do anybody have anything? And yes, I got something. I'm like, why are we not recognizing our veterans and their veteran preference, you know, as they are, you know, because I'm looking at the book room and everybody in the book room is a veteran. I mean, when I say the book room, the mail room, we're all in the mail room working. Why can we not be adjudicators? But so after doing that and falling on the sword, so to speak, many of those same individuals, they're still there to this day, years later, and they are adjudicators. So they became adjudicators.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's just a matter of you have to say something, you know, if you see something, say something, you know, that kind of thing. So,
you know what? I love it because, you know, I know who I am and whose I am and where I come from. And part of the reason why I work as hard as I do is to pay homage to you, my father, you know, all of my family who has gone before me and worked hard. And so it's always my goal that this journey is not about me. God is just using me.
Right. Just using you.
It's all about serving other people.
And when you say serving other people, that's how I found myself getting into education. I was watching the evening news, and it went on for this, I don't know, felt like months or whatnot. But they would always talk downward about the students at this particular school. And so I had researched it and found a program that I was able to get into to become a teacher. So I completed what they call the PACE program. I did that. And I was teaching at Burke High School for, well, I guess 3 or 4 years, 5 years. And but I was dealing with that growth, with that particular growth. I was dealing with a lot of things that administrators didn't have to deal with because the kids, they was coming to me, you know. So I'm like, well, I'm able to just go ahead and become an administrator. And so going from a classroom teacher, career technology education, to a school administration, and then getting an opportunity as a program director or the principal, if you will, for a charter school. And that's I think that's when you had visited at one time, I was holding that position down. So yeah, and that you know, and just as you're saying, you know, being a blessing, being making yourself usable for the Lord to use you in different ways, different capacities, and just recognizing it's not, you know, it's your gift, but it's not intended for you to keep it and hide it and put it under a stone, but for you to use it, you know, help elevate other people. You know, oftentimes people not looking for a handout, they just looking for a handout. What I need to do, matter of fact.
That's it.
Yeah, and nowadays I was just blessed by this one guy, that young man, because you know I have a trucking business now. Yes. But I was out in my truck and at the rail yard, and a young man pulled up beside me in his truck, and he you know, he's looking at me like, Mr. Sellers.
I know you.
Yeah, but he was a student there at Burke years ago.
Wow. Leaving those lasting impressions.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
My heart is full. I'm just sitting here smiling. My heart is full. Mm-hmm. I do want to just touch on, though, real quick, and then I would love for you to please give your affirmations following this. But people ask me, you know, we didn't get to continue with the journey of all the places. Like right now, you know, Charleston, South Carolina is where you ended up landing at, so to speak, the final destination. But people ask me, like, what do you remember about Japan? And I was privileged to be able to come back over when you went back over to Okinawa. Mm-hmm. I think I was 14, 15 years old, and we got to come back over.
Yeah, we was traveling on Space Safe. That's right. with space safe travel, yeah, you don't know where you might end up at, wherever that plane's. Hey,
That's it. And baby, that flight that we took
yeah.
from
Mhm.
this airplane to that airplane and being in the back of the plane strapped, like it was an
Yeah.
experience like no other. Like, is this safe? We really have to
Yes,
get on like this?
yes, yes, yes.
But those are all definitely positive experiences. And had it not been for you, I would not have been able to
Mhm.
be privy to all of those. So I'm just moved to emotions and really literally trying not to cry, because I love you and I respect you and I have great admiration. And I'm so appreciative and I don't take any of it
Yeah.
for granted, any of it for granted. But will you be kind enough? I see you put your glasses on. Will you be kind enough
Yes.
to please share your affirmations?
Well, I mean, and I grabbed my glasses because I had tried to give it some thought. And of course, there's a number of different affirmations. Let me grab this right here real quickly here. I don't know if you can
Okay.
see this right here, but these are, just from my church alone. Today we got this big blessed in God, and the pastor, he did a powerful sermon on that. Here's another one here, coming out of Proverbs 28 and 20, faithfulness. I have one here. What would Jesus do? So we have to ask ourselves these things at times. Have one here, 1,000 times better lifestyle. Because that's what it's really all about. Getting your mindset to a place where you can really enjoy it and start living 1,000 times better life than you're living right now.
Yes. And who gets to control that? Who gets to decide? You get to decide.
And God loves me. These are a number of affirmations right there. But the one that I had went with here, and I said first to give thanks to God. I can't get around that. First to give thanks to God, and I use that 1 Thessalonians 5:18. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. And then with that, Psalms 118 and 29, it just reads, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercies endures forever."
Yeah.
And it's hard to get around that. Then I had thought about the next affirmation would be to repent. I'm always with the repentance heart, because I know, I may have sinned and didn't even recognize it as a sin, but to him, he knew what it is. They're coming out of Matthew 4:17, because Jesus says, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." But then oftentimes when I pray, and I know these scriptures here, but those are my affirmations. Like even when I pray, I open my eyes to the wonders of your word, that I would know, understand your precepts. Psalms 119 and 18. Teach me your ways, that I would not depart from them.
Yes.
Psalms 86, like 14, I think. Psalms 51, creating me a clean heart and renew the right spirit within me. Those are the things that I try to fix my mind to, so that even when I get into those dark places or whatnot, I want to make certain that I'm not giving place to the enemy. Because the enemy, like the pastor was saying today, he'll show you an illusion, and so your mind began to act out on that illusion instead of just pulling those strongholds back down into the obedience and the captivity of God. So
yeah, that's good. Thank you, Daddy.
thank you, Mika.
I appreciate you. Yeah, big meat, not
Big
the little
meat,
meat.
big meat.
Big meat.
What's good? What's good?
What's good? What's good? But I
You
want
are.
to take the time as we close, and just tell you again how proud I am of you. It's been a lot of growth. It's been a journey, and you've taken it all with stride, the highs and lows of life, and you have been able to receive it and digest it in a way that allows you to continue to be patient and humble and loving and supportive. All those amazing attributes, and you're an amazing man, and I am truly honored to be your daughter. I love you forever, ever. And thank you for just always being there for me, no matter what. I call you. You have really been my best friend, confidant, my place of refuge, and my provider. Just had my back And I love you for that forever, ever. Thank you, Dad.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. I love you too.
I didn't really cry.
Let me also just a word of encouragement for other veterans that may not,
Absolutely.
other veterans that may be in need of help and services.
Yes.
Please contact your local VA office. Go by there, visit with them. That's what they're there for. They don't know how much you're hurting unless you go there and have that conversation with them. And then when they make a service or a benefit available to you, don't hesitate. Go and act on it. The door's open.
Yeah, thank you for remembering that piece of it. That's so important. So thank you. Absolutely. All right, Daddy. Well, thank you for your time. I love you very much. And until next time, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, babe.
Oh my goodness, he made me cry. That's my dad, y'all. How awesome was that for me to be able to share that piece of me with you all? Thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in. And just as my father has said, if you are someone, a veteran specifically, who is in need of supportive service, it is available. Seek your local veterans hospital, your VA hospital, but whatever you stand in the need of, just know that there is service, benefits, and support in place for you. Don't give up. Even when you're told no or there's a delay in the process, keep pounding the pavement. I promise there's advocates out here working on your behalf. We just have to make those connections to get you the support. So don't give up. And no matter what, I want you all to know that I greatly appreciate you for your selfless sacrifice and the way that you have served our country. Thank you very much. So today and every day, we celebrate you. But for everyone, please know that until next time, have an amazing day intentionally. I love y'all, and let's get it. Let's grow. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.